Hi everyone, welcome to the Yahn Planetarium at Penn State Behrend. My name is Jim Gavio and I'm here to give you the update for August 2020. So as in the past, let me just mention a few items first. We have some important things going on during the month of August. If you haven't had a chance to catch Comet Neowise, it is getting a little more difficult now, but if you know where to look, you may need a telescope. We used to be able to see that with our eyes, and binoculars were always great. But you may need a telescope as it starts to get further away from us and is dimming down. And also we have the moon that could be getting in the way, depending on what night you go outside. And so the moon, the brightness of the moon can be a problem. All right, also I'd like to mention the Perseid meteor shower, which peaks on the night of August 11th going into the 12th. But that's not the only night you can see those meteors. You could actually see meteors as early as like mid to late July, going into mid or late August. The problem is that the moon, again, can be an issue if the sky is bright from the moon, or, you know, as we get closer to the, as we're around the 11th or the 12th, you could see more meteors, but on some of the other nights, either before that or after that, you'll just see less, but you can still certainly see those meteors. All right, the other thing I'd like to mention is the Mars Perseverance rover. We're sending another rover to Mars. It's on its way, but it won't get there until February 18th. But it is something exciting to watch as far as the launch is concerned and the landing in February. So I'll give you more details once that happens. All right, so hopefully you get a chance to check those things out. But for now, as always, let's go to our night sky. Again, our program here called Sky Gazer. And at this time of the year, in late August, or mid-August, I should say, I have the sky set for mid-August. So keep that in mind if you're going out before this or after this. Things will be just a little bit different. But the sun sets roughly, let's say, around 8:15 or so at this time of the year. And looking towards the eastern sky, we can see that right before darkness, we already have Jupiter and Saturn that have risen. But let's move over to the western sky then and just watch as the sun sets. And there we are. And we're going to move ahead to about, let's go to about 11 p.m. So at 11 p.m., a couple things important here that are happening. Let's get rid of that for a second. Let's move to the north. And as always, I'll just touch on this really fast. We have the Big Bear with the Big Dipper inside of it. And then again, we take those two stars on the end of the cup, draw a straight line across the sky. We should hit Polaris, our North Star, which is in the Little Dipper. Let me get rid of those pictures for a second. There you can see the Little Dipper, just a bit easier. All right, so always we want to look for those. If you want to look for the comet, in late July, it was about here, moving up this way into August. So you'll have to really check to see where it is on the particular night that you want to look for it. And again, you'll need a telescope as it gets dimmer and the moon gets brighter. All right, let's move around to the southern sky. And at this time, about 11 p.m., mid-August, we have Jupiter and Saturn in a very nice spot in the southern sky, the best place we can get for viewing Jupiter and Saturn this month. Yes, Pluto is in there, but again, Pluto is very small, very dim. You'll definitely need a telescope for that. But Jupiter and Saturn, you can see with your eyes. And of course, even a small telescope would be great. And at this time, at 11 p.m., we also have Mars just beginning to rise. It's too close to the horizon to really get a good view with a telescope, but I do encourage you to look at Mars if you get a chance, as it does get higher, because Mars is very close now, and we can start to see some features on Mars. All right, let's move ahead to midnight. You can see Mars getting higher, and we're going to move early into the morning because, let's say, about 4:30 in the morning, we have something very interesting that's happening, and I don't know if I want to mention this or not, but we have some of our popular winter constellations that are starting to rise. So we have Orion right in here, Taurus the Bull, the Gemini twins. Those are all winter constellations. And here we have the Pleiades star cluster. These are all winter items that are in season, as I would say, in the winter. They're most prominent in the southern winter sky, you know, after dinner, but before midnight, once we get to winter. But for now, you'll have to see these things early in the morning. But it's a sign that winter is coming. It's getting here. All right. So you can look for Orion. I know everyone likes to look for Orion, but right now, this is 4:30 in the morning, and it has risen now. All right, we have Venus, not too far from the moon on this particular night, middle of August. All right, and let's go even earlier into the morning as we get closer to sunrise. And there we are. Now we're at about 6:30 in the morning. And that takes us through one whole night. I hope you get a chance to view some of these objects in the night sky, or get a chance to look up a little more information on the Perseverance rover. It's pretty exciting, all the things we're doing with the rover. Again, I'll mention the helicopter that will be attached underneath the rover. The rover will drop that helicopter onto the surface of Mars, and then the helicopter will take off and fly around a little bit. And that's just a demonstration model for now to see how well we can do this. And then we will have more of these drones in the future. All right, so with that, I hope you enjoyed the tour of the night sky for August. Thank you again for joining us at the Yahn Planetarium at Penn State Behrend.